Hi everyone, Elliot Jacobson here for Advanced Advantage Play. And today I want to tell you about a side bet that is so good I cannot even tell you its name. Well, all right, let's just go right into it and I'll show you what the side bet is. It came to me via email just yesterday. And essentially, you can read this on your own, but let me just describe it to you. It's a little bit easier. The side bet is simply based on the final winning total of the hand. It doesn't matter whether player wins or banker wins. The question is, what is that final total that is the winning total? So it's going to be between 1 and 9, and there are actually 9 separate side bets here. You can wager on 1 being the winning total or 2 being the winning total on up to 9. And those 9 separate wagers each have different payout odds. So if you read the bottom there, you'll see that if you bet on 1 being the winning total, in other words, a final score of 1-0, that pays 85 to 1. If you bet on 9 being the final winning total, that pays 2.5 to 1, 2.5 to 1. So that's a lot of side bets. And the first thing this should sort of remind you of is the Your Way Égalité side bet that's been in the UK now for quite a long time. And you know how crushable that side bet is, right? You know that one, there's a different counting system for each of those totals where that tie might occur, and you could bring a team and each teammate could, sort of count a different one of these. Well, this should remind you of that. And you might think, well, we should be able to count with a team of 9 or whatever the team is, a bunch of these different side bets, and then the teammates can all sort of make the same side bet at the same time, and we could really compound the winning possibilities here. Well, after I looked at it closely, it turned out to not be that easy and not as profitable as Your Way Égalité, but there's something interesting going on here. So let's get right into it with the details. So here are the 9 side bets. You can make a winning total of 1, 2, 3, 4 on up to 9. And of course, there's the classical tie side bet that I put down at the bottom, just sort of so you could see all of the possibilities, right, of the outcome of a hand are listed here. And so I have the probability of each of these final totals. I named this the final total side bet. That's not the actual name of this. And I've never seen this done before. It's sort of surprising to me that nobody's ever just sort of written down the probability of a certain total being the winning total in Baccarat. But here we see that those probabilities go up to 24% is the probability that the final winning total will be a 9. And then we can see the payout in the next column over and the house edge. Now, those house edges were what struck me right away because these are particularly low house edges for a side bet. Typically, side bets I think of as being 10, 12, 15% house edge. You see the tie bet has a 14% house edge. So when you get a house edge of 2.172%, like for the winning total of 5, that should make bells go off, right? So the only question is a counting system going to be feasible for this particular number? I mean, when I think of getting a total of 5, are there key cards that come to my mind? Well, sure, 5s, right? We'd like to have a shoe rich in 5s, but you're going to hit if you have a total of 5. So that's likely to mess up your winning total of 5. So it's not that easy to get a 5. Whereas if you look at a 7, 8, or a 9, then usually once you've got that total 7, 8, or 9, you're not drawing a third card, right? That's going to stay there. So that's a maybe intuitively more straightforward thing to count. So the next step in this analysis, I'm going to throw this up there. It's going to be this huge table of all of the effects of removals. And I'm going to just show this to you so that you can kind of get a sense for the mess that you have to deal with in sorting this all out. Now, when you're looking for an easily countable side bet, what you want is to have a lot of numbers that are kind of close to 0 and a couple that are very big or very small, right? So that you can really isolate the key cards from all of the noise. And if you look through this table, what you will see and you might have to really, get down, stop the video, enlarge your screen, look at that thing. You would see that the only one out of all of these where that's really possible are the 7 and the 8. And intuitively, it's kind of clear. What do you want to have a winning total of 8? You want a lot of 8s and not many 9s, right? I mean, that's kind of what you want to have a winning. And what do you want for a winning total of 7? You want a lot of 7s and not many 8s or 9s. So those are the two that I created counting systems for. And really, that's all I want to do here. If you're out there and you want to do this on your own, here are some effects of removals. You could create your counting systems and so on. But this is as far as I'm going to go with this thing. So let me just take you through the analysis of those two. So here's the winning total of 7. And we can look down at the well, first of all, I have the baseline house edge at the top, which is a 3.301% house edge, relatively small. And if you look at those effective removals, check out the 7, the 8, and the 9, sort of compared to all the other values in that column. We see that 7 is roughly twice as large as the 8 and the 9. So that makes a super intuitively simple card counting system here. 7s are -2, that's their tag. 8s and 9s are +1. Look at that correlation down there, a 0.992. That's a huge correlation, right? That is dead on. So this is the world's simplest card counting system. And if this can't beat the side bet, then, the side bet can't be counted. So the actual simulation then, I ran 100 million shoes on this, and this is what I got. Look at that target true count, +1, right? I mean, you're going to be playing 20 hands. You're going to be making this wager per shoe on average. That's 24.8% bet frequency. But your average edge on average is not going to be that much. Your average edge will be about 4% when you do make the wager. And we see our units 1 per 100 hands. We're winning roughly 1 unit every 100 hands. That's not a particularly high win rate compared to some of the other spectacular side bets we've seen out there with win rates of 2, 3, 4 units per 100 hands. But the one thing that's really a positive for this is that desirability index of 10. And what that's saying is that there just is not much volatility to this, right? You're going to get to the long run very quickly. It's not like the Dragon side bet where you have a 40-to-1 payout and it's going to take a long time to ever win one of these. You should expect to win these things fairly frequently when you make this wager, hence the high desirability index and low volatility. So, all right, so we have a very good, solid opportunity here. Not a particularly lucrative one, but certainly one that you would enjoy playing. It's very easy to count this. And it's so easy to count this, you might even be able to count 2 side bets all by yourself. So the other one is going to be the 8, and this is what I showed you. Now, the 8 is going to be a tougher card counting system. And essentially, what do we want in order to get to an 8? Well, we want lots of 8s, so hence the tag of -9 if an 8 gets dealt from the shoe. And we don't want many 9s, hence the count of +3. Now, why do we also not want many aces, 2s, 10, jacks, queens, and kings? Well, it's because if you do take a third card, none of those cards, 10, jack, queen, king, ace, deuce, will add to what you already have and get you to a total of 8. Well, not as player anyway, and there's only one situation in banker when that can happen. So essentially, we want to get rid of all the cards that, if we do draw a third card, cannot make a total of 8. And so that's how this card counting system works intuitively. And you see it's even better than the correlation for the 7. It's a much more difficult to use system, but it has a much better correlation than the 7. And this one has a very similar win rate. Now, the target true count for this is +6. We're not playing as many hands per shoe. We're not playing 20 hands. We're playing 14.5. Our bet frequency is going to be down from 24% to about 18%. Our average edge is a little bit higher. And our units 1 per shoe, instead of 1 unit, we're winning about 9/10 of a unit per 100 hands. So still a very solid opportunity. And look at that desirability index. How is it that you could win less per 100 hands, but have a higher desirability index? Well, the point is this side bet pays 3 to 1. That is a very sort of high frequency to win, but low volatility payout. So when something pays 3 to 1, you're going to be winning this thing all the time, right? You're going to be winning a lot of the time. And that means that, the desirability index, you divide by the standard deviation. So the smaller the standard deviation, the larger the desirability index. So this one is also a very good side bet. So what you see in these two charts then are, I have the win on 7 side bet pays 4.5 to 1. I have the card counting system there. The win on 8 side bet pays 3 to 1. I have the card counting system there. Now let's just go back and look at the 9s here just to have a moment of that. And if you look down those numbers, it's sort of difficult to come up with a card counting system that is going to be particularly effective. But not only that, if we go back and look at the house edge for the 9, the house edge on the 9 is 6.463%. So it's this trade-off. We have both a more difficult side bet to count in terms of creating a good system, but we also have nearly double the house edge of these other 7 and 8 that I showed you. So 9 is not something I would even want to try. Now, how about 5 here with the 2.172? That one looks really ripe for card counting, right? 2.172. So if we go to the ERORs for a 5 and you look at that, just stare down that column for the 5s there, and you see that is a total mess. I'm not even going to begin to try and do that one. It may be the most countable of all of them by a long way. And if you're using pencil and paper, you might be able to come up with a great system. I've not been able to come up with a system at all. I tried, and I can come up with something with a correlation of 0.95, but it's not balanced. It's an unbalanced count, and 0.95 and unbalanced are already, I'm not sure what to do with that. I could certainly sim it, but I just don't want to do that work when 7 and 8 are so good. So for the person who's really interested, you can just sort of do the math from here yourself and write your own simulations and come up with whatever you come up with. But other than that, this is not something I'm going to pursue any further. So, all right, everyone, that's all I have to say for today. It is a spectacular side bet, and if you happen to know where this one is, I would say go out and play it right away and have a great time. So, all right, everyone, this is Elliot Jacobson. See you later.